Whenever we talk about something that really matters to us, chances are we're probably talking about some aspect of human flourishing. And one way of thinking about it is to think of three dimensions of human flourishing. One is material, because it's hard to flourish if you haven't got enough food to eat, or you can't house your family or provide health care for your kids. Another important dimension of human flourishing is the relational dimension, because humans need to cooperate with each other. We've evolved to cooperate, and we flourish when we have good relationships with others. But then even when those two are satisfied, or even if they're not satisfied, there seems to be something more without which life is spiritually impoverished. And so one way of describing that is the transcendent dimension, the way this material world, this relational world, seems to call us to something beyond itself. And people find that transcendent dimension in different ways, sometimes in a beautiful sunset, sometimes in music or painting or poetry. Many people find it in a relationship with God. And these different dimensions of flourishing can be distinguished for the purpose of talking about them, but actually they can't be separated, and they all belong together. One of the earliest technologies ever to be harnessed by humans is fire. And it's long been said that fire is a good servant, but a terrible master. And if that's true of fire, it's true of every other technology that we've ever developed too. So if you take the topic of AI, AI is a wonderful servant. I have an AI company. We commercialise what we developed in my laboratory at Oxford over the last 10 years or so, which is specifically using machine learning to accelerate the tuning and characterization of devices for quantum computing. And it's spectacularly effective. It does it about 100 times faster than humans can do it, and it's scalable in a way that humans can't. And you can think of lots of other examples where AI is already bringing great benefits. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be using it so much. But my goodness me, it can be a terrible master too. And if we ever let AI take charge of our lives, then it can wreak havoc, just as fire out of control can wreak havoc. So a growing number of people now are recognizing damage that is done by AI, particularly to people whose brains are changing in the way that adolescent and young people's brains change when they're developing into the adult brain. But I don't think it's restricted to young people. I think everyone is susceptible to the psychological muscle that AI can bring to bear. And if you ask for the next technology that's going to come along after AI, it's going to be quantum computing, which in the next 10 or 15 years will be as disruptive as AI already is. And I rather feel with AI, we left it too late. We're trying to sort of firefight now in a way where it would have been better if we built the fire breaks in the first place. What I hope with the quantum computing is that we'll have the wits to think ahead and say, what are the challenges that quantum computing is going to bring to human flourishing? And how do we address them now so that quantum computing we benefit from as a wonderful servant, but it doesn't become a terrifying master? If we think about people entering the field of AI engineering now, there's a rather remarkable oath that is being developed by colleagues at the University of Oxford. It's going to be called the Oxford Oath, and it will shortly be released. And its aim is to provide for AI roughly what the Hippocratic Oath for a long time has provided for the healthcare and medical professions. So it has a number of points about respecting human dignity, not pretending to be human when you're not human, and so on, that it encourages those who take the oath to adhere to. And I think that's going to provide a useful set of guardrails. But of course, you don't want to stifle people's creativity. So what one wants to encourage people to do is, within these safety guardrails, stay curious, be very curious, be inventive, and follow your curiosity. I wrote a book with the artist Roger Wagner called The Penultimate Curiosity. And the book is all about how science swims in the slipstream of ultimate questions. So throughout history, where you've had a culture or a community or occasionally an individual who asks the big questions, questions about truth and purpose and meaning, and why are we here? What are humans for? What is God like? How can God be known? Time and again, that has proved conducive to the kind of curiosity about the material world that eventually became the sort of science that I do in my laboratory and countless others around the world. And so to young people, I would say, think about the big questions. Think about the really important questions of life and existence. And if you're really curious about those, I think there's every chance that it will stimulate your curiosity about practical things that you can then investigate and maybe, who knows, even turn into practical technological reality. I am the inaugural holder of the statutory professorship in nanomaterials at Oxford. And that means we study very small stuff, so small sometimes just a molecule at a time or something containing one extra electron at a time. And it provides the underpinning for many technologies and most prominently at the moment, future quantum computing, which may itself provide new ways of doing machine learning and therefore AI. So I am a technology enthusiast. In the 16th century, Oxford was at the forefront of medical research. But do you know what? If I had a serious illness, I'd rather use 21st century medical technology than the methods they were using in the 16th century. They are just better. And there are countless ways in which technology has improved and does improve our lives, particularly when it's combined with entrepreneurship. So AI is something that inherently has huge potential to promote human flourishing, and actually already is promoting human flourishing. So if you just take medical radiography, AI is very good at radiography. And there are plenty of parts of the world, particularly in the majority world, where there is not a plentiful supply of radiographers. And if the AI can come in and do that job, it'll release the surgeons for being able to do their work of repairing things that have gone wrong in a human body. So the basic attitude is that so much of the ways that we benefit in human flourishing have been enabled by technology. AI is no exception to that. But technology can be misused, and it can be used for bad purposes. And particularly, one needs, because so much of the AI is funded by big corporations, one needs to look at the purpose of a corporation. And if you look at the benefits packages of CEOs of big companies, all too often it looks as if the sole purpose of the company is to increase the shareholder value. But it needn't be like that. And so one could say, well, the purpose of a corporation is to provide solutions for society, and they can be profitable solutions, otherwise the corporation won't survive. But it's to provide solutions for society without creating problems for society. So you can think of ways in which traditional chemical engineering companies could produce chemicals that people wanted, but hey, if they were polluting the rivers or belching out carbon dioxide, they were creating a problem for society that did not appear on their profit and loss accounts and for which they didn't pay. Now, people have got quite sensitive about chemical pollution and so on, And what we need now is a comparable sensitivity to mental pollution. And if, as is the case, the big AI companies are providing solutions for society, which they are, otherwise we would use their stuff, they are also creating problems for society for which they do not pay. And that has got to change. So that, I think, is a very important area to address. Some people think of it in terms of the analogy with mechanized transport. You know, before mechanized transport came along, hey, we had to walk to wherever we were going. Or if you were very rich, you might have a horse and you could ride a horse, but either way, you got some exercise. And then we got mechanized transport. And to simplify what's a very complex problem, we then were faced with the consequences in the form of an epidemic of obesity in the Western world, because people are not exercising their bodies. There are other causes as well. And look at the costs to individuals and to the healthcare services of obesity. Now, is there a danger comparably of creating a sort of mental obesity? So you think of the sort of needs that AI meets, the sort of frustrations we have. You know, sometimes we feel a bit lonely. That's a bit of a frustration. So, hey, you know, I'll phone up a friend and we'll meet for a coffee or something like that, or we'll go for a walk together. Oh no, I needn't do that. I've got my digital companion. So I no longer have the appetite of loneliness. Or sometimes, you know, I'm feeling a bit bored and I don't know what to do. So, hey, I think of something creative to do. You know, I cook something, or I make something, or I paint a picture, or whatever my outlet is. But hey, I needn't be bored anymore. I can talk to my AI companion. And so that appetite of boredom that can lead to creativity is taken away. So this is why there's this fear that we may be introducing a kind of mental obesity, which may be even more damaging and even more costly than we're already experiencing from physical obesity.